Gotta react. Everyone lock in. Hey YouTube, what is going on, guys, over on the More Swag channel? So today's video, what I got for you guys is gonna be the history of Warzone Easter eggs. Ladies and gentlemen, lock in, check it out.
So since we now have 8 maps, each with their own Easter eggs, I thought it would be appropriate to go through the entire history of Easter eggs in Warzone. Part 1. If I've included every Easter egg ever from every map, this video would be at least an hour long, so I feel like splitting these up into parts would work a lot better. We're gonna be covering Verdansk and Rebirth Island in this one, and I'm only covering major Easter eggs. That means hidden details and small references won't be counted here. Go ahead and comment your favorite Easter egg down below.
Chat, let me know if you guys did any of these.
Kicking off our list, we probably have one of the most popular Easter eggs in all of Warzone history. This is, of course, the Bunker 11 Easter egg, which, looking back, seriously had some zombie level of Easter egg depth behind it. You started off the quest by picking up a phone at a specific location, then you had to listen to Russian chatter and pay attention to what's said. Yes, that's right, you had to translate Russian in order to continue this. Once you have your 3 Russian numbers, you had to go to their corresponding phones in a specific order and activate them. This then allowed you to open up Bunker 11 at the top of the map. Bunker 11 was unlike any other bunker since it gave you an exclusive MP7 blueprint and had a bunch of ominous visuals about the potential destruction of Verdansk.
That was the cool, like where's that type of lore in this Warzone? That's what they're missing. I think this Warzone almost feels like it has no soul. Like Verdansk and shit like that had a soul. Like it had like a storyline.
Later on, we were eventually allowed inside of Stadium to complete another Easter egg. It involved finding 3 separate keycards that opened 3 separate rooms, and in each one of these rooms, there was a computer. Once you interacted with the computer, a series of numbers and symbols would flash quickly that you had to memorize. You would think that you would just have to enter these separate codes as one long code. Boy, do I wish that was the case. Instead of that, you use these 3 codes to essentially create a legend that decompressed these 3 codes into a smaller code. Honestly, I don't really understand how it worked. It just kind of like did, okay? Now you take that one code and enter it in the keypad on the executive suite level, where once again you're rewarded with an exclusive AN-94 blueprint, crazy loot like the minigun and Juggernaut kill streaks and advanced UAVs. But another fun aspect about this is the fact that once you open up the secret room, fireworks go off above the stadium all around the perimeter. Show the entire lobby that you completed the Easter egg.
Ain't that lit? Like where is that shit at?
This was a very small Easter egg in Verdansk that let you open up previously locked bunkers that had elements and imagery from Cold War. Honestly, don't even remember how you opened these, but I remember it being really easy. Outside of the teasing and advertising for Cold War, these were pretty irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. This Easter egg will let you get into a secret subway station under Verdansk. You land in the city hall and interact with a terminal, then a series of images would flash with a plus or minus or an X afterwards. The image would correspond with an element in some of the paintings around the wall, and underneath said paintings would be in Roman numeral, which would be a number representing the painting. Once you got that image, plus or minus the number, you then have to do some puzzle thinking just to enter the code you already decrypted, which adds yet another tedious element to this Easter egg. You would then go to the Verdansk airport subway system, where you could override the terminal to now take the subway to the secret location. Pretty much the same exact rewards as the previous ones, with yet another blueprint, this time for the Bruin. Alongside all that exclusive loot, I also think it's worth mentioning that this was the very first time you could ever get specialists within Warzone, which I find pretty significant.
Holy shit,
I wasn't going to include this because all these are really minor, but I'll go over a few of the things that are going on with this event. We've got a ghost train in Quarry, which is actually pretty cool and fairly detailed. We've got a Leatherface ghost in the farms, skeleton arms in the stadium, candy bars and loot boxes, Billy's ghost in the downtown metro station, jump scares, and many more details like this. I just figured I'd throw it all in here.
I never even knew that.
As a part of the 80s action hero event, Verdansk added the Nakatomi Plaza POI. You could access the vault on the top by doing one of 3 things. There was one where you disarm C4 on the roof within a time limit. Another was pretty much a scavenger contract that gave you the keycard with the last chest. And then there was another way that involved taking out AI in the parking garage until an armored AI showed up who dropped the keycard. If I'm not mistaken, this was the very first example of any AI related entity in Warzone. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that. Once you did one of these 3 things and took it to the vault on the top floor, you were granted access to the room. But a really cool aspect about this Easter egg is that depending on which side quest you completed, it affected the vault you could open, and each had different rewards. Each vault gave you money and a field upgrade, but there was one reward that was exclusive to each keycard. One gave you an advanced UAV, one gave you a contraband contract if you wanted to continue the fetch questing, and the best one gave you a specialist bonus. This was probably a lot of people's very first look into specialist bonus, and definitely was my first time ever experiencing it. It was seriously just a constant battle of who can do this vault first. Regardless, I think this Easter egg did a great job showcasing the specialist bonus.
What a vibe. What an
With Cold
absolute
War, we
vibe.
got the new red door fast travel system, which was a pretty trippy mechanic in its own. And eventually they added a secret door that you could access by taking one of the red doors. Once inside, you were taken to a room where there would be a glitchy chest. Once open, it dropped a cane with a lion on it. If you took the cane to the graveyard and stood in front of this statue, you could dig. And you would get a calling card. I'm honestly not sure why this Easter egg exists. It seems kind of random to me. I don't know, like, if someone could give me like a lore check on that. Very simple, but pretty neat, I guess. Before we get into Rebirth Island, I want to apologize because on my thumbnail, I'm probably using this image right here. And I sent all my information over to the thumbnail guy thinking that this Easter egg was part of Warzone, even though it is definitely not. I don't know what I was thinking. I genuinely thought that this minigun Easter egg was in Warzone, but it's really just on like the trenches gunfight map, I think. So if this is still the thumbnail, I truly apologize. I'm not trying to clickbait you whatsoever. On to Rebirth Island.
Wait, what? A teddy bear shooting with... I never even knew that.
This was a pretty in-depth Easter egg that was a part of Rebirth Island at launch. You would find a briefcase which spawned in one of several random locations, which was always the most annoying part. Outside the briefcase, there were a couple of pictures of locations on Rebirth Island. You then had to go to each location and ponder around until you found a code. This was another super annoying part because it usually was just like on the wall, like behind stuff, or kind of just like in a super awkward location that you really had to peek around for. So that certainly didn't make things easy. Once you get the code in all 3 locations, you would put it together and go to headquarters and put in said code at the terminal by this door on the main floor. And you guessed it, you got another exclusive blueprint, specialist bonus, foresight, and all sorts of money and other goodies. I'll go ahead and mention that in Warzone 3, you can access this room, but instead of doing all of this, you just need to have 30 daily scans of the biometric scanner.
My dog, you do a great job with these videos. I love the storytelling. They're awesome.
And you also have permanent access to the room once you do that. Only this time the rewards are not even remotely close to the same caliber as Warzone 1. There might be like 1 gold chest. This Easter egg was carried over in Warzone 3 and is done the exact same way. Across Rebirth Island, there are 3 different keycards. The Forgotten keycard is found when you interact with the showers and bioweapons. Vicor's keycard is found on the top floor of Grandma's, and the Perseus.
I swear, Warzone just lost. Hopefully, with Black Ops 6 and with, you know what I'm saying, with Verdansk coming back, they kind of had this like they kind of get the soul back, like the storytelling of Warzone.
Found in the building of the shoreline between factory and living quarters. Take one of these keycards, a stronghold, in the same fashion as the Nakatomi vault. They open a specific lockbox with specific loot depending on which keycard you have, which give you a ton of money and an added bonus of either a low, advanced UAV, or specialist. This is probably one of the easiest ways to get specialists, but still definitely wasn't a cakewalk, because that was the Forgotten keycard, which is the one in bioweapons, which is quite literally across the entire map. If you make your way into the prison block on Rebirth Island and search every cell, on top of some of the toilets, you can find these little beepers, or maybe they're phones or remotes, I don't really know. Poke around long enough and find all 6 of them, you'll then hear a phone to start to ring. You go to the center of the cell block, you'll find it, and if you answer it, you'll hear a voice calling out a bunch of numbers. Luckily for you, this time it's in English, so there's no translation necessary. You may not have to translate this time, but it is a much longer sequence of numbers.
3. Enemy soldier nearby.
Is this for Verdansk or Rebirth? Oh, it's Rebirth.
3.
Once you have those numbers memorized or written down, you can go to any 3 of the locked vaults. Yes, that's right. You can use this on multiple vaults, which is very convenient.
I've never done this
one. Enter the code and you're gifted with another vault with the same exact loot as always. I will say, I think this one had a blueprint for a riot shield, so that's kind of funny.
I never knew that.
This was pretty much several Easter eggs sprinkled into one big Easter egg. You could do this in any order, but most people would start by landing factory, and at the bottom floor of the big staircase system, you could shoot this crate that will drop an ID badge. You then take this badge to the small building off harbor that lets you into a secret room where you can activate a power switch. Then you go to chemical, where on each floor there will be a letter and a corresponding number that you then have to get all matched up on this control panel. And let me tell you, getting these numbers to match up is a pain because each terminal increases a different amount of the letters and it does not tell you which one does what. You truly just have to learn from trial and error, and it takes a lot of patience.
Hey, this shit is harder than math. What?
And frustration along the way. Lastly, you go to industries, and once you get to this table, you'll find a monitor with a bunch of data on screen. You would then decrypt each percentage from the largest to smallest to create one large code. Then you enter it on the keypad next to the sliding door on the display case, and then the sliding door will open. And that has some small loot for you and your squad, but what we're really here for is the button on the other side of the display case. Now, since you've completed all 3 of the Easter eggs, when you press the button on the right side, it opens up the display case for the DG58 exclusive blueprint. Friendly reminder, you have to do all of these in the same game, so it's honestly pretty difficult. Definitely one of the harder Easter eggs on this list in my opinion. Just recently, we got a submarine POI that spawns in randomly. If you go in there through the top hatch, you can see a photo on a bulletin board, and if you interact with it, you get a calling card. That is it. There's nothing else to it. Just thought I would include because it's relatively new with the whole Black Ops 6 reveal, which I think is pretty exciting.
I didn't do that.
Also, the Mustang and Sally blueprint is staged here, which will give you the blueprint as long as you get a kill with it. Before, it would just randomly spawn in chests, but now having a guaranteed spawn for it, as long as a submarine spawns in, makes things a lot more convenient for the player. But that's every major Easter egg on Rebirth Island and Verdansk. I honestly think that we're kind of getting back into Easter eggs with Warzone 3, but it definitely could be better.
They just, that's what I'm saying, bro. They have all these like imagine red doors on Zerkistan. We're talking about literal heaters.